Yes, 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 everybody. The Barbie cope is real. The success of this movie has so many chuds and anti-fans and haters here on the internet, these misogynists, these bigots. They're all losing their collective minds over the success of this movie. Already making over 500 million this week and projected to make over 700 million over the weekend proves it is a financial success. And all of the lies and bullshit they said about the movie, about it being like a trans film or a gay film or propaganda or men hating, whatever it is they've said about the movie is not working, because most of the people that have seen the movie know that that is not what the movie's about. And the advertising and the marketing campaign for the movie is really working because people are going back and seeing it a second and third time. We're going back to see it a third time. It is a good fucking movie. And that is the thing that they cannot handle. I have seen them shift perspectives. Some of the channels have just stopped talking about Barbie altogether. Other channels have tried to sort of shift focus and say that Barbie is now crushing Disney and that's their cope, even though Barbie is a big budget Hollywood movie based on Mattel and a Warner Brothers property, which is super capitalistic right now. They cannot deal with it. They're trying their hardest to cope and they just cannot. It's a meltdown that we love to see. And you all know the channels that are responsible for this kind of stuff. However, today we have a clip that somebody shared with me online about one of these people sort of seething a little bit about the Barbie movie. And I guess this clip was prior to the movie being a huge success over the last few days. So let's watch this clip. And then I have something I want to say about what's being said by this person in the clip.
Mark is going to be, are people going to finally wake up? And that is really the ultimate question, because if people don't wake up, if we don't see a catastrophic loss, or rather a catastrophic drop for Barbie next weekend, what that tells me is a couple of things. Either.
So by the way, there's not going to be, I think it's going to be like less than 60%, which is massive. So more breakdowns from these folks.
One, the marketing campaign is so impressive that it's convincing people, even those that have already seen the movie, that it was actually the movie that the trailers promised it to be.
It is. That's the thing that has them so angry, is that the movie delivered on everything. It actually over-delivered in a lot of ways. The movie was a lot better than the advertising campaign, which means that that whoever put together that campaign did a fantastic job, and the movie basically undersold itself. And now word of mouth is saying, like, look, the movie's great, go see the movie.
And not the third wave feminist garbage that it actually ends up being.
Pseudo-intellectual.
Or it means that there's a lot more women in this world that actually embrace and endorse the ideology being perpetuated by this movie. And if that's that second one, guess what? That makes me very, very scared and terrified, because
we'll touch on that in a second.
If you actually have watched the film, if you've actually read some of the lines and quotes from this movie, and if you know the general ideas and premises that are being pushed by this crap film, I think at that point recognize, okay, this is something that not only should no children ever go to see this movie.
Well, it's a PG-13 movie. And that's something you also hear a lot of these channels do. Children shouldn't see this movie. It's not the film's responsibility for parents to check whether or not a movie is appropriate for their kids. It was listed as a PG-13 movie. We've talked about this prior to this. PG-13 unlocks the door for a lot of adult stuff in it. So yeah, it isn't really for little kids, but it wasn't advertised for little kids, regardless of whether or not you think Barbie is for little kids, because you can say the same thing about comic books or cartoons or fantasy stuff. The things that kids would read doesn't inherently mean that stuff that comes out has to be directly for kids. And this is something a lot of these channels and these people do, is they'll go, oh, it's for kids because it was a toy or it was a cartoon. Even though they will defend stuff that is more mature based on children's properties, if it suits their narrative.
Again, it is PG-13, but the way it's marketed is clearly directed towards and geared towards kids.
No, it wasn't. It was not. That's your opinion, which is, it's totally subjective. The marketing of the movie advertised what the movie was.
But also, it is something that I think should cause some concern. The fact that, again, even after all of the information about the film has already been out, major names like Critical Drinker have put their word out there. You also have other...
Yeah, with a bullshit review. Bullshit. Any review attacking this movie about the superficial things that you guys keep saying totally missed the point of the movie, or you're being completely disingenuous. I already broke you guys down in another video.
Major, typically more conservative leaning people also being, becoming very famous, internet famous, as it were.
But all media doesn't have to appeal to conservative people. See, that's the whole problem here, is that you guys act like every piece of media that comes out has to be geared towards conservative viewers. That makes no sense whatsoever. Why does every single piece of media that come out have to to appeal to conservative audiences. It doesn't. Movies can appeal to a wide range of audiences, or they can have specific demographics they're going after with their films. There's nothing wrong with that. And that is something that you need to accept, and other people in your space need to accept, is that certain things are just not going to be for you, and that's okay.
I know some people might be pointing to like people like Ben Shapiro, who had a 45-minute review of this movie. Again, love or hate Ben Shapiro.
To do that. And he did more than that. He's done like 3 videos now that in total go over the runtime of the movie.
For different reasons, his review was pretty spot on. But
no,
right now, I think the best out there is probably Critical Drinkers. He's always much more middle of the road with a lot of his takes.
He tends
to be much more based in reality, breaking things down from an objective.
No, see, what he does is he pretends to be middle of the road to pull in people who might be centrist or on the fence. And he does that, and then he slowly creates this more conservative right-wing stuff. Because if you're someone that appreciates conservative reviews and conservative values, then you wouldn't be sitting here saying go watch Critical Drinker. That doesn't make any sense at all. All right, let's pull this back in here and talk a little bit about what he said. So one of the things he said in that video, which kind of struck out to me, is he was terrified, he was scared. Now, why would you be scared of women having an opinion that is more feminist or more woman empowerment geared based on seeing this movie? Why would you be afraid of that? And the reason for that is because you know how you treat women. You know how you view women and how women are treated in the world that you're in the world that you want to have. And you're afraid that if women start to become more empowered and more, they start to feel better about themselves, that they're going to start treating you the way that you have treated them. That is the big issue that you guys have with any marginalized group. You don't want people who are in marginalized groups to get equality or equity because you're afraid that they're going to get that equity, they're going to get that equality, and then they're going to start treating you the way you have treated them. So your fear is that if women start to wake up to the stuff that you guys keep pushing, they're going to realize that, hey, I don't have to be treated that way. And that is something that you don't want to happen. The same way that most of you guys feel about, different races, the way you feel about gay people, trans people. You do this because you want to exert that power over them, and that power is a place of authority, a place of like exactly what the movie was showing with Ryan Gosling's Ken and all these Ken characters, is this idea that masculinity doesn't have to be that. It can exist in a world with feminine traits and different people and still exist and live and thrive and be this thing that is something to be proud of without being toxic or about going too far. But you guys totally miss that because you're so afraid that if women wake up or marginalized groups wake up and realize the way that you have treated them is awful, and now they're going to do the same thing to you. But look, here's the deal. Coming from my perspective, someone who's in the gay community, who's had this issue, this problem or whatever with you guys in the past, here's the thing. I just want to be equal. I want to have the same rights and things in my life that you guys have. I don't care what you do. If you want to go out, you want to drink beers all night, you want to throw darts, you want to play sports, you want to work on cars, whatever it is that exists in your world that you think is super masculine, because I have no idea at this point what you guys consider masculine. It seems like you hate everything, really. Whatever it is you do in your world, I want you to be able to keep doing it unless that thing is attacking me and my community and other people. That is where I draw the line. You're not going to be able to come out and attack me and say all these things and say things about women and other marginalized communities without getting pushback. And you're just afraid that's what's going to happen if people start to realize that is the way you're treating them. So your fear is unreasonable. Your fear is based on this idea that you have to continue to oppress people because you are afraid. And I'm glad you admitted that, because I wish more people who make this kind of content would admit that you're afraid of marginalized groups, even though there's nothing to be afraid of. It's irrational, and that's what makes it phobic.